A lot of games, especially piles of random titles in the indie gaming world, market themselves as versatile or different every time, bragging about the personal journey of a player just for a single story with a few different choices along the way. However, there does happen to be a game that not only gives a truly new amount of player freedom, but also turns that aspect into another entire level of experiencing the game itself. That is the non-linear adventure platformer, Reventure. Originally created in 48 hours for the 40th Ludum Dare Game Jam by Spanish developer Javi Sipa, Reventure began life as Lonk's Greedy Adventure, a tongue-in-cheek platformer with 6 endings. After placing third in the competition, Sipa continued working on the game, originally giving it just 2 new endings, before doing a complete overhaul of the title and on June 4th, 2019, releasing the full Reventure, boasting 100 endings. But what does the number of endings have to do with it being a good game? Where's the charm in yet another pixelated platformer? Well, I think that will become clear after we discuss what's so great about Reventure. The game starts with a journal entry from year 1, day 1, stating, "Everything started as a pretty normal day in Tim's life." And that's it. From that point on, the game is up to you. This game begins as a parody, but very quickly introduces all of the features that make it stand out in the gaming market. Subverting expectations based on all of the other pixelated indie platformers you've seen before is how Reventure really pulls you in closer. So here's the kicker with the whole 100 endings thing. That isn't just the typical approach of, your decisions will determine who's alive or what your condition is by the conclusion of the game, and that's your story. Instead, you're trying to basically collect all of the endings to this game. Every decision you make and every action you perform could be another ending. Sometimes you never know. Many of the endings are surprising or unexpected. So what makes things different for every run of Reventure? Well, the game has an assortment of typical adventure game items, notably a sword, shield, hook claw, bomb, and shovel, among some less conventional pieces of equipment scattered throughout the kingdom and hidden through specific means of acquiring. Sometimes you even need a specific set of items just to get another one. In fact, you have to choose your items wisely, if you choose any at all for certain runs, because the more you have, the heavier you are, which restricts certain paths by changing stats like how high you can jump and how quickly you fall. Balancing your needs is a crucial problem-solving skill that will allow you to reach every corner of this game. When you first acquire an item, especially some of the more unique ones, there is no specifically noticeable way of how you should use it. Usually, you have to use an item along with whatever it will interact with. For instance, you can't just place bombs willy-nilly, you have to actually use them within radius of something that can be blown up. For the less conventional items, you won't always know what objects they will interact with, and it just becomes another facet of discovery as you put this item to use in both finding and solving new puzzles. This game has a lot of gotta try to remember that moments, which is great in a small game like this because it keeps you playing. Remembering, I need to come back here with the bombs or the shovel, keeps you aware of how the world is built, fueling your sense of exploration and adventure. Whenever you think you have a new path to take or something you feel like trying, you're caught between discovering a new ending and starting your adventure over, or continuing on your path to a later event. If you think you're just going to take a break from all the crazy endings and actually take the normal path to the end, then you're sadly mistaken. There is no normal path. It all depends on what decisions you make, and every single screen you enter has multiple choices, even if you don't think there is one. Even turning around can be a choice sometimes. Which paths and choices available to you are also dependent on which of those items you have access to, and sometimes picking up a seemingly unrelated item for your current planned path will open up entirely new possibilities. So, 100 endings sounds pretty daunting, right? Trust me, it does become a bit overwhelming to start exhausting all of your ideas of what to do next until you're not sure where to turn. Well, Reventure has the perfect cure for that, which is an optional hint system and increasing degrees of information. First off, there are physical hints that can be randomly generated while exploring the world. Picking them up and reading them in the menu guides you towards new endings that you may have missed, using very sly phrases to clue you in on how you might trigger those endings. The game itself also includes hints in the aspects of both signs and slight screen shifting. As for the signs, some are placed clearly in your path, sharing information about the area you're in, little jokes about the world, or even red herrings to throw you off. Other signs are hidden and give you more helpful clues, or so they seem at least. As for the screen shifting, sometimes there will be little nooks and crannies that barely poke into another board, giving you a glance over there to see what's in store or even how you might reach that area. If something even looks minimally accessible, it probably has a lot more hidden nearby. Along with the collectible hints, about halfway through the game you'll unlock a new item, which is a compass, pointing you in the general direction of your goal. Beyond that, it tells you nothing more. You still have to figure out what it wants from you, which items to use, how to avoid triggering past endings that you've already unlocked, but it is a helpful little guide when you're stuck between ideas. Even further down the line, you'll unlock a map of the kingdom, which places an X wherever your goal is. This is a little more in-depth than the compass because you have an idea of where you're headed and therefore which items you may need, and it's also good for telling which path to take to get to your goal. Keep in mind, all of these levels of the hint system, the text, the compass, the map, they're all completely optional. You don't have to utilize them if you'd rather figure things out on your own. I mean, even utilizing all 3 optional hint systems doesn't just give it away, leaving you to come up with the exact location, approach, which trinkets you have at your disposal, and method of completion. So, nothing is stripped from the player's reward of reaching that new ending. Reventure is surprisingly reminiscent of old text-based games or Sierra adventure games, where a single decision of which direction to go or a goofy little choice you make in the spur of the moment could lead to drastic changes in your playthrough, or a sudden unfortunate ending. Although in this instance, not every ending is unfortunate as you try to find more and more of them. This world does a terrific job of demonstrating to you exactly what this game is about. The first room you step foot in has some obviously notable set pieces that seem like something may change in the future, and that's exactly how the game is played. With many of the endings come slight changes to the world, and with these new changes, new paths are formed, both figuratively and literally, that guide you towards new options in terms of finding that next ending. I don't know the last time I had so much fun making discoveries in a video game, especially one as deceptively small as Reventure. It may not be an incredibly long game, but the amount of light bulb moments leading to witty and interesting endings kept me pining for the next discovery. Watching your completion percentage stack up and comparing it to other players is an extremely satisfying way to track your progress in a simple, yet obviously not straightforward game. And that is what's so great about Reventure. Thank you all for joining us on this episode of What's So Great About Gaming as we checked off all the boxes in Reventure. I'd like to thank viewer Potatoes Sanbei for suggesting this great game. Make sure to tell us what you think about Reventure, or even suggest a game for another video. If you want to hear what's great about another game, check out the link to our last episode, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, on screen or in the description, and please take the time to subscribe to be involved in the discussions here. Thanks again for watching, now go play a great game. We'll see you next time.